well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. Glad to be with you on the program today. We're going to be talking with Zach Fort, treasurer of the New Mexico Shooting Sports Association, here in just a minute or two. We are in the final week of the 30-day session in Santa Fe, and there are a couple of gun control bills that are poised to get to the desk of Governor Lujan Grisham, but there are many others that, at least for now, appear to be in a holding pattern. Now, that could change over the next, 72 hours or so. We'll get to that in just a moment. We also have an incredible armed citizen story for you, an outrageous plea deal in Milwaukee, Wisconsin to get to, and, of course, our good deed of the day. But let's kick things off with our conversation with Zach Fort from the New Mexico Shooting Sports Association on the possibility. I don't want to say it's a guarantee. I don't even want to say it's a likelihood at this point, but the possibility that Governor Lujan Grisham's anti-gun agenda will largely stall out in the state legislature this year. Take a look and a listen. Zach, thanks so much for joining me on the program today. We are heading into crunch time, it sounds like, at the Roundhouse this week.
Yeah, just got a couple more days. Thursday at noon, the 2024 legislative session ends in New Mexico.
All right, so where are we right now? Well, there were dozens of gun control bills that were introduced at the start of the session. Where are we just right now in terms of these bills getting across the finish line?
So that's a great question. So there were about a dozen gun control bills introduced in the 30-day session in New Mexico. In New Mexico, we alternate 60-day sessions, 30-day sessions. The 30-day session is supposed to be, just a budget session, pass the budget, go home. Well, this governor has made attacking our rights one of her highest priorities as governor. So she had them introduce about a dozen gun control bills that they tried to do in a 30-day session. So where do we stand on all these bills right now? So all the bills that may pass this session are currently located on the floor of the House, meaning they're waiting for a vote by the full House of Representatives. There are two bills that are further along than any other bills. The first one is Senate Bill 5. That is the polling place gun ban, basically saying you're not allowed to bring a firearm, either open or concealed, to a polling place or within 100 feet of the polling place, unless you're doing other business by it, which is one amendment that was added on. It was a good amendment, but we still think it's a bad bill. So that bill had passed through the Senate. It's currently waiting to vote on the floor of the House of Representatives. That's Senate Bill 5. The other bill that's the furthest along right now is House Bill 129. This is the 7-day waiting period in New Mexico. So the bill actually started as a 14 business day waiting period. It was amended down to a 14-day waiting period, and it was amended again to a 7-day waiting period. There is an exemption for concealed carry permit holders that amendment was added on to kind of get this bill through, because they did face a lot of opposition. We had some state representatives, state senators talking about receiving thousands of emails asking them to oppose this bill. So there really was a real groundswell of opposition to this bill, but it did make it through the House side one time, and it made it through the Senate side. However, the versions that passed through the House and the Senate were a little bit different. So the bill that passed the Senate is now back on the House side for a concurrence vote by the House. So nothing has actually passed the full legislature yet. Senate Bill 5, House Bill 129, those are the two bills that are the furthest along. They both passed the Senate side. They're currently waiting for votes by the House Representatives. If they pass the floor of the House and no other amendments are made, they will go to the governor's desk, which we anticipate that the governor would sign those bills. So that's why right now we're telling people is that everything that may pass this session is currently on the floor of the House. A lot of the other bills, the under 21 semi-automatic ban, the House Bill 137, the semi-automatic rifle handgun ban, that bill is also, it has not passed the Senate side, but it has been sitting at the floor of the House. It's been sitting there for almost 2 weeks now. So why has it been sitting there for 2 weeks without a vote on it? Well, the answer is they don't know if they have the votes to pass it or not. House Bill 129 was really close. We were 2 votes short, stopping it the first time it came to the floor of the House. These bills are incredibly close, is basically the message that I'm trying to get to people. And they're trying to figure out if they have the votes to do it at the end. We're trying to figure out, if we have the votes to stop it here. So it is really imperative that if you're in New Mexico and you care about your Second Amendment rights, you need to be talking to your state representative, call their office, send them an email. If you've done it before, do it again. They need to continuously hear from people that we do not want these attacks, that we're sick and tired of, criminals having free reign to do whatever they want in our state while they continually attack peaceful citizens who just want to be left alone.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting to me that Governor Grisham, has this carry ban that she imposes unilaterally on lawful concealed carry, right? Because we're apparently so dangerous, so problematic. And then in an effort to, water down this waiting period bill to attract votes, okay, well, you concealed carry holders, you're not the problem. You don't need to go through a 7-day waiting period. We trust you. It's so amazing to me, Zach, the lack of consistency that we're hearing within the anti-gun arguments, right? When they want this bill to pass, then concealed carry holders can be trusted. When they want to ban concealed carry, of course, then we can't be trusted. I just find that fascinating. And, you talk about some of the other bills that are sort of, I don't want to say they're stalled out, but they haven't gotten a vote in the past couple of weeks. How concerned are you that in the coming days here that Governor Grisham is going to put the full court press on lawmakers and say, bring these bills forward because she wants a gun ban. She wants to raise the age to purchase a firearm. She's not going to be satisfied. Last year, she threatened to call a special session if lawmakers didn't pass these things. So I'm assuming that in the waning days of this year's session, she's really going to be putting the screws to her fellow Democrats saying, you got to get these bills to my desk.
Exactly. Last year she did threaten to call a special session on gun control specifically if bills were not passed. That, kind of got some bills out of committees. But, she has not made a similar threat so far this year. But I mean, it's this governor. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. If you listen to her press conferences, you listen to her talk about this stuff, she just hates guns and wants to reduce the number of firearms in New Mexico. I mean, that is basically, she's said as much in her press conferences and her media interviews that she wants to reduce the number of guns in New Mexico. So any bill that would potentially reduce guns, reduce the number of firearms, we're not talking about, reducing access to firearms by criminals. We're not talking about anything like that. It's just anyone our right to own a firearm. She wants to reduce that. So to have fewer guns in New Mexico, that's all that she wants to do. So any bill that can potentially do that, she's going to be pushing really hard. There's a lot of games that are played in Santa Fe. New Mexico is somewhat notorious for some of the backroom deals and things like that. The pressure, especially with the way we do some of our capital outlay stuff and kind of the secrecy around that. So the governor has options that she can try to use to either use a carrot or a whip to try and get some of these lawmakers in her own party to go support her proposals. Because, Democrats have a very large majority in the House and the Senate in New Mexico. However, a New Mexico Democrat, there are some good New Mexico Democrats who value our right to own a firearm, who value freedom. And we continuously lean on those people. They voted for us before. We won on all the votes that have gone through the floor of the House and the Senate. We've actually won more Democrats I think people realize we were going to, because it's really, really close. We're talking, 2 votes on either the House or the Senate side when things pass. 2 votes. That's all that it is here, even though the Democrats have very large majorities in both, because we are winning those Democrat votes. So what we need to do is continuously, talk to those people, especially, up in the northern New Mexico Democrats. There's some very incredibly pro-gun Democrats in northern New Mexico who value their rights and don't like this stuff. And we need those people to continuously speak out and talk to the representatives, let them know, stand strong against what the governor is trying to get you to do, because she has no problem selling you out to push her agenda. We saw this, during COVID, had the animosity that the governor had for northern New Mexico and the way she kind of attacked these people for not following what she thought was the right thing to do. So there's a lot of animosity between, I think, people in northern Mexico and this governor with the way she's treated them. And people need to stand strong because she is coming for their rights. And those are the people who live in places like Ocate, New Mexico, who are going to have to drive 3 hours to get a firearm under this waiting period. And they have to drive down there, a 6-hour round trip, do another 6-hour round trip to go pick it up 7 days later. So, this is an attack on the rights of rural the Mexicans, and we need people to stand firm and, and go fight against this. And please, we implore you, go contact your state representative today. If you've already done it, do it again, because the floor of the House is going to determine what does and does not pass this session.
Absolutely. And I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I do have to ask, are you concerned that if the governor only gets a couple of these bills to sign, let's say the waiting period, the gun ban in polling places, that she will call lawmakers back into Santa Fe? Or again, is a lot of that contingent on what these, northern New Mexico Democrats do and what they're hearing from their constituents at this point?
So, we're prepared for all possibilities. This governor, she's full of surprises, to say the least. She tried to nullify the Second Amendment through executive order. Is it possible that she could call a special session? It is. We'll be prepared for that if it happens. At this time, we have not she hasn't said she's going to, so that's not necessarily something that we're preparing for right now. I mean, we just got a couple days left, so we're just trying to finish the session strong, stop everything we possibly can during this session, and whatever comes next, whether that be if there's any litigation, whether that be a special session, we'll deal with that after the session is over. But right now, we're just laser focused on getting through Thursday.
Sure. And talk about the grassroots opposition to this, because I seem to recall there was a post on X from the New Mexico Shooting Sports Association, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, talk about how we've not seen the opposition to some of these bills that you've seen in the past, which was kind of disappointing to see. Has that anti-gun or the opposition to these bills, has that ramped up over the course of the session, or are you still a little concerned that there are a lot of gun owners sitting on the sidelines?
What early in the session, people really were not as engaged as I think we would have liked to see them be. And I think there's a little bit of fatigue there because, this governor just, continually, it's just this continuous, like it's nonstop. There's executive orders every single session since this governor has been in office. It's been a fight. You've got executive orders, you got everything else going on. So I think there was an element of fatigue where people were like, they're just tired and giving up. But, as we've gone through the session, as, this governor's agenda has kind of become more clear, I think we really have seen people step up. We had a good rally. It was freezing cold outside, but we had, a good rally out there in Santa Fe. So we have continued to see people speak up, but, I think there's still a lot of gun owners who need to get involved, who are not involved right now. So there's definitely, there's a whole lot more because, New Mexico, we're a gun owning state. I think by some surveys, about roughly half of New Mexicans at least half of New Mexicans live in a household where there's a firearm. You go into rural New Mexico, that's probably above 75%. I think in the metropolitan areas, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Las Cruces, you're going to have a little bit lower, but it's, we're a gun owning state. People in this state are familiar with firearms. And so there's a whole lot of gun owners who these bills would impact, who need to get involved. I don't care if, you're Republican, independent, Democrat, Libertarian, other third party, because these bills are going to impact your ability to get a firearm. And, I think there's going to be a lot of people who sat on the sidelines. And if the 7-day waiting period bill passes, they're going to be shocked to find out that they can't bring a firearm home with them on the day because they've always been able to do that. So I think there could be some people who are not involved right now who are going to be in for a rude awakening. If this governor is able to continually push out these gun-free zones, able to continually, make it harder to access a firearm, and it's unfortunate that they're going to wait until something impacts them, but that's why we need to get people involved now and today, and this is why we're speaking out so loudly on this.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, I wish you the best of luck in the coming days. Can we get you back on the program maybe next Monday after the session is complete? We kind of have a better idea of where things stand, what's going to the governor, what's not, and maybe we've heard from Governor Grisham about what her plans will be after the session is concluded. Can you come back?
Definitely.
Okay. Zach, again, thank you for all of your work there in New Mexico. And folks, again, if you're a New Mexico gun owner, please heed Zach's advice here. Make sure that your state representatives, your state senators have heard from you because time is running out here. We've got a chance to maybe derail some of the worst. And who knows, maybe even derail all of the governor's anti-gun agenda. But Zach Fort, thank you so much for your time today. We'll let you get back to work and look forward to doing this again very soon.
Thanks. Have a good day.
I appreciate Zach joining us for the update. We will, of course, be following closely everything that's going on in Santa Fe. But again, best thing to do right now, make sure your lawmakers have heard from you. And that's good advice, by the way, no matter what state you live in. Whether you've got good legislators or bad legislators, they still need to know that these issues impacting your right to keep and bear arms are vitally important to your continued support for them going forward, or maybe your continued opposition, I suppose, depending on who your lawmaker might be. All right, let's turn our attention now to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day, and our recidivist report. We'll start with this story from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Not a true recidivist report. I don't know that the teen in question has a previous criminal history, but I'm still struck by the light sentences that we see for what we are told are very serious crimes, right? Including bringing a loaded gun onto a school campus, which resulted in probation for this Milwaukee teenager. Yeah, maybe he was sentenced to have to wear that hairdo for the next couple of years. I don't know. But not a good outcome here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the 17-year-old, Adric Everson, pleaded guilty to having a gun on school grounds and a misdemeanor dropped in a plea deal with prosecutors. According to a criminal complaint, Milwaukee police were dispatched to the Audubon School on April 27th of last year. School staff members said a student had a gun there on campus. Complaint states that another student informed a security officer that Everson had a, quote, handgun in his waistband. The security officer found Everson in a hallway and then escorted him to a room. When a school staff member entered the room with Everson and the security officer, the teen then ran out of the room and tried to run out of the school, but he was stopped and detained in the hallway with help from another security guard. Everson eventually taken to the boys' restroom, where a staff member searched him and found a gun in his waistband, as well as a magazine loaded with 12 rounds, recovered an additional round in Everson's pants leg. And again, 2 years probation for this. I was under the impression, we've been told time and time again, that these are very serious crimes. We need to take these things very seriously. Of course, I guess that's, when we're talking about passing laws that are aimed at people like you and I who aren't bringing guns onto school campuses as an underage teenager in illegal possession of a firearm, right? Yeah. We need waiting periods. We need universal background checks. We need all kinds of gun-free zones. But when a 17-year-old brings an illicitly obtained firearm with him to school campus, hold out your wrist. Hold out your wrist, Adric. Bad boy. Don't do that again. 2 years probation. That's all. Today's armed citizen story from Columbia, South Carolina, where authorities say a woman acted in self-defense, fatally shooting an intruder at an apartment complex over the weekend. This from the Richland County Sheriff's Office. They say deputies dispatched to a shooting about 5 o'clock Sunday morning. And when they got there, they found a woman who had shot and killed a man in her apartment. Woman claims that she heard banging at the door to the apartment that she shares with her 2 children. As she approached the front door, the man actually managed to break through. Woman told deputies that she retrieved a gun from her purse, asked the man to identify himself. I imagine that was more like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" He continued to approach the woman. At that time, she fired, shooting and killing him. She called law enforcement immediately after it occurred. Investigators say the woman was brought to headquarters for questioning and was released shortly after when it was determined that she was, in fact, acting not only in self-defense, but in defense of her 2 children. Thankfully, she wasn't harmed. The 2 kids were not harmed, according to the Richland County Sheriff's Office. And no charges expected because this was a justified act of self-defense. We don't know anything at all about the suspect in this case, but we'll see if we can learn more information as more details become available. Finally today, in the right place, at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing, a resident in Florida who was able to rescue a couple and their dog from a capsized boat over the weekend. That's never a good thing. This was in Melbourne, Florida. Officers responded about 7:30 Saturday night, locating the boat about a mile offshore and about 2 miles south of the Melbourne Causeway. So this wasn't just the boat's sinking, let's hop off and swim a short distance to shore. The capsized boat had 2 people who were still holding onto the boat as police began to speak with them. Multi-agency rescue effort began. First responders from the Melbourne Fire Rescue, the India Atlantic Police Department, Melbourne Beach Police Department, the Brevard County Sheriff's Office Aviation Unit. As they were working to get a rescue boat in the water, however, a man in his own boat was able to get there first and save the subjects, who were soon picked up by a Melbourne fire rescue boat, taken to a local boat ramp. They were taken to a local hospital to be examined. The couple medically cleared, released with no injuries whatsoever. I think the dog is okay as well. Melbourne police say they don't know why the 17-foot-long boat capsized, but they added that there was no further law enforcement investigation into the incident. Again, thankfully, everybody okay, thanks to the quick thinking and the fast actions of a man in his boat there in Melbourne, Florida on Saturday night. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. I want to thank you for being a part of the program as well. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we are slated to talk with Cody Wisniewski of the Firearms Policy Coalition. Fingers crossed that nothing happens between now and then. So I will tease that with the anticipation that, yes, that interview will be taking place. In the meantime, don't forget to check out BearingArms.com throughout the day. We are keeping you up to date on all of the latest Second Amendment information from all across the country. News you need to know about when it comes to your right to keep and bear arms. If you like what you see, I'd encourage you to become a VIP or VIP Gold member. All you have to do, go to BearingArms.com/subscribe, use the promo code GUNRIGHTS, and you can get a significant savings on your membership. As always saying, thanks for showing your support. We're going to give you exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. Your support really does matter. It truly does make a difference. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. as well as a Monday can be enjoyed. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, be well, be safe, and be free.